Did you know that you hate yourself? Hi, I'm Rev Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. Did you know that you actually hate yourself? Most of us will deny that we harbor ill feelings or deep-seated hatred of ourselves. But if we take a good look at ourselves, we can spot it. Take a good look at our lives. We look back at our lives, and instead of seeing the positive things we've done, the accomplishments we've achieved, the progress that we've made, we instead see the mistakes that we've made, the opportunities that we lost, the missteps that we've experienced. That jumped out at me this week when I looked at the New York Times bestseller list and saw that one of the titles was, "I would leave myself if I could." I would leave myself if I could. Huh. It's a book of poetry written by Grammy Award nominated platinum selling musician Halsey. Now in this book, Halsey shares some of her deep emotional turmoil over experiencing her bipolar disorder. And for those of you who don't know what a bipolar is, it used to be called manic depressive disorder, where a person could be high-spirited, super energetic, and happy for a short period, and then suddenly they fall into a dark, depressive state. It's a very confusing and emotionally painful condition, and it can make the person who's suffering from it very pessimistic about life and the future. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever felt like you would leave yourself if you could? Please, click on the thumbs up button below, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. Remember, I would love to hear your comments, thoughts, questions, so please use the chat box or the comment section below. Now, it's understandable that living with a condition like bipolar, like bipolar disorder, can make one pessimistic about themselves and about life and about the future. But most of us are not bipolar, so we don't have that condition to blame. Our self-hate is not a result of chemical imbalance. Our self-hate is self-imposed. Our self-hate is the end result of a society that flourishes on the destruction of our self-image. We're surrounded by messages that highlight our flaws in order to sell us stuff that can fix it. So we're made hyper-aware of our shortcomings, and we're convinced that they can be fixed by something outside of ourselves that will improve our bodies or regrow our hair or whiten our teeth or make us smarter. Trouble is, even when those products actually deliver on their promises to improve our visible selves, they fail to touch the underlying problems of how we feel about ourselves. Dr. Maxwell Maltz, M-A-L-T-Z, he was a successful plastic surgeon, and he discovered that truth many years ago when he would perform cosmetic surgery to improve physical flaws, only to discover that the successful surgery did not change the way patients felt about themselves. They still felt they were ugly. They still felt their imperfections, even though their imperfections physically had been fixed. So Dr. Maltz wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Now, Psycho-Cybernetics was a book that was written to help people overcome their own inner blockages and their self-critical tendencies. His book has since been completely updated to Psycho-Cybernetics 2000. So while this book helps with many insights and techniques for overcoming our inner impediments, for overcoming the things that we do to hurt ourselves and to impede our progress, One thing for me sticks out as the most powerful tool that he presents in his book, and the most powerful tool I think that exists. And that tool is forgiveness. 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 Yeah, I know we've heard it all before, forgiveness, but since we've heard it all before, forgiveness, the urging toward forgiveness have become a part of the background noise and have effectively faded in our consciousness. It's now in the back of our mind, it's not in the front. But that does not diminish the importance of forgiveness. Forgiveness has to be a necessary element in our lives. But one of the things I've noticed in this frantic atmosphere of promoting forgiveness, it's in the movies, it's in the news, it's in books, it's on radio, it's on the internet. Forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. But when I look at all the stuff about forgiveness, is always directed outward. We always seem to be admonished to forgive those who have hurt us, forgive those who have offended us, forgive those who have disrespected us. But what is not acknowledged in all this is the fact that we need to forgive ourselves. We need to forgive ourselves because we have caused harm to ourselves. Yes, others may have harmed us, but we've also harmed ourselves. We have a hidden guilt and shame about things from as far back as our childhood, as evidenced in the John Bradshaw book, Healing the Shame That Binds Us. What Bradshaw found is that stuff that happened in our past, stuff that nobody knows about, that we never shared with anybody, those things are still there deep in our psyche, and they're like anchors on a boat. They hold us in place, and they will not allow us to move forward into open waters, not allow us to move into wider horizons, greater opportunity. They hold us back. You know you have the talent, but somehow it never really expresses itself. You know you have the ability, but somehow you never really got the opportunity to show it. You know you have what it takes, but the door has always been closed. Believe it or not, you have the key to that door. Forgive yourself. Deep inside of you, there is the key to that door. Forgive yourself. As I have listened to many stories of outrage and pain over the injustices that have been inflicted by one person onto another or one group onto another, I have discovered that the one who has been hurt quite often bears malice against him or herself. That malice is in the form of judging themselves for their involvement in the event. They say it was my own fault. How could I have let that happen? How could I have let that person get away with that? How could I have allowed myself to be treated like that? How could I have not seen this coming? How could I have allowed myself to stay in that situation? The self-blaming, self-shaming, self-destructive judgment can go on and take many forms. But the bottom line is that when we are injured or insulted or taken advantage of by someone else, we often blame ourselves. For it is as much as we blame the other person, we often blame ourselves. And then to make matters worse, we punish ourselves for it. We punish ourselves, which take the injury to a whole other level by piling on and beating ourselves up. So now we've got a double whammy to get on, to deal with. We got the original pain inflicted by somebody else, and we got the added on pain inflicted by ourselves on ourselves. So we need to learn how to forgive ourselves before we can even think about forgiving someone outside of ourselves. Unforgiveness is the key, the gift that keeps on giving. Unforgiveness is the gift that keeps on giving. Remember, unforgiveness against ourselves appears in a lot of ways. It's in the form of shame or anger, resentment, judgmental attitudes, fear, all of which create and perpetuate chronic stress. Chronic stress. It can lead to high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, nerve diseases, and psychological disorders. And a large percentage of cancer patients have unforgiveness issues. So, let me direct you to the words of Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, "No one can make you inferior without your consent." Eleanor Roosevelt, wife of the president of Delano, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. You're making yourself feel inferior, you know that. With this self-blame and this self-shaming, this unforgiveness of yourself, you are giving yourself permission to make you feel like a worthless piece of crap. I'd like you to do something for me right here and right now. I'd like you to take a step back and say, permission denied. That's right. Say to yourself, permission denied. You are much too precious to mistreat yourself. You are much too precious to come up with the idea, as Halsey did, if I could, I would leave myself. If I could, I would leave myself. No, you're much too precious for that. Permission denied. So what? You did something that you're not proud of. You know what that brings for me? Forgive yourself. I forgive myself and set myself free. So you did something then that you would not do today. You know what that means? Forgive yourself. Not just once, but again and again and again. As many times as it takes for you to feel peace. You're not going to do that again. You know better now. Why do you know better? Because you did it and you gained from the experience. And so, forgive yourself. How unhappy is he who cannot forgive himself? Be friendly with yourself. Learn to forgive. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. You've learned from what you've done in the past. Forgive yourself. It was a lesson, not a curse. Forgive yourself. It was a teaching moment, not a death sentence. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Now, what we're going to do tomorrow is discuss how to go about forgiving yourself. What steps do you take? How can you make it happen for yourself? You deserve to be forgiven. You deserve to be able to forgive yourself. So come back tomorrow and we'll talk about the steps you take to forgive yourself. Okay? So let's close with prayer. Thank you. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence. Thank you for bringing us all together in this life so that we may become spiritual warriors and join in the work that we have come here to do. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing us into this space of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds and hearts to the truth of our being. We are the children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And because we are part of the greater whole, we're beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more. We know that as we feel your presence within our lives every day, we will rise because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we're now restoring our connection through grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain that we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who have inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. And for this we are truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. Please click on the thumbs up button. Sandy says there are some things worse than death, as we are infinite. We are infinite. So tomorrow we'll talk more about how to forgive yourself and how to release yourself from the pain and the shame and the guilt that is holding you back. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I am Rev Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind.